Hi, my name is Jen, and on this channel I have been recording my self-publishing journey. That is something I will continue to do. What I wanted to do today is a little bit different. I am creating a company called Imperfect Progress. I have a purpose statement behind that, which is that I exist to encourage, empower, and equip the sleepwalking children of God to break free of strongholds and pursue their dreams. So behind that is a turning point in my life, which I uncovered a video for this week as I was moving files from my old work computer to my new work computer. I came across a testimony that I recorded for a event back in 2017, October of 2017. So I grew up always knowing I wanted to be an author, growing up knowing I always wanted to be someone who wrote books to impact the world around me. But I'll be honest and say it had a lot to do with me. I wanted to make an influence so that my name would be remembered, so that I could change lives and it could point back to me in some way. And I think that that's natural. I think we are all born with a desire to leave our mark on the world. And we hear about people like, Steve Jobs saying he wants to make a dent in the universe, and we all have those aspirations. But there is a clear turning point in my life where it shifted from I want to be this person that made an impact to really caring more about what that impact is going to be. And my life purpose came after that. My life purpose came from reading a book after the events talked about in this video that I found, and then realizing like what I care most about is calling out the dream in other people. And kind of cherry on top of this video, I was wearing a shirt that really encapsulates my whole vision, right? My vision is that my belief is that if you are alive, if you haven't died, if you are still breathing, if there is still oxygen going in and out of your lungs, then you still have purpose. You are still alive for a reason. There's someone you can impact. There's someone you can love. There's someone you can encourage. There's someone you can pray for. There's some way that you can encourage and improve the world around you. And I think many of us dream way too small, and we're trying to just impact one person when we have the ability and the calling to impact the whole nation in some way, to impact the way that our entire company thinks about a topic, whatever that is. And so what I wanted to do today, like I said, it is a little different, but I wanted to share with you this video about that turning point in my life. It also gives some background on who I am for those of you that are not already my friends and don't already know this story, because it did impact everything that came after. This video, I sat and gave the testimony, and it was like 10 minutes. They needed it to fit in 5 minutes. So there are a lot of cuts in this video to make the story fit. But I still think it does a great job of conveying what happened in March and April of 2017. And like I said, this was made in October, so about 6 months later. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I see you back next week. I want to talk a little bit about how the alpha read is going, and also about setting up my first newsletter. So those are the next couple of videos I have planned. And I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you in the next one real soon.
Hi, my name is Jen Barrett, and I have been in Austin now about 7 years. And I came here after graduating college at Howard Payne University. I have been working in the tech industry for that time that I've been here. And I have been a Christian, born and raised in the church, and became a Christian this summer after 5th grade. And so that has been pretty core to my identity and who I am. And just excited for the opportunity to share my story today. On March 29th, I was at work. I got a text message from my mom about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, asking me to pray for my dad. He was driving home from a retreat, and there had been an accident. She didn't know anything else. Left work at 5 o'clock and called my mom and tried to get an understanding of what was going on. And so I asked, are you going to go to Uvalde to be with him in the hospital? And she said, if your father's alive, then they'll fly him to San Antonio. And that was the first time I really understood the gravity of what had happened. I just kind of was in shock. And so I went to community group that night and just cried, and we prayed together. And then I went home to New Braunfels. My mom got in, she walked in about 9:30 and just said he didn't make it. And it's like, what? My dad isn't there anymore. And growing up as a father's girl, like, my daddy was everything. And it was traumatic, but then all of a sudden it was international. I did take a few interviews, and at the same time, my mom, who was the secretary of our church, was planning funerals for 13 friends, one of which being her husband. She cried with me that first night, but then after that, she was just like, I have to be strong for the kids. We got through the week of funerals. The last funeral was my father's, and it was amazing. There were over 1,200 people there. The overflow sanctuary was packed. And just story after story of all these people who have been impacted by my dad. And that was on Saturday. Sunday, we had some good family time. Tuesday, I get a call from my sister asking what I'm doing. And she says, Mom's not doing well. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she was very vague, didn't know what to say. And I was like, well, should I meet you at the hospital? And she said, no, they've already called her. My sister wasn't willing to say that my mom was dead on the phone. So we know now that what happened is she had a pulmonary embolism and she died. It's 13 days later. And over that next week, the weirdest thing happened to me, because while my dad was dead, I was emotive, and I was writing, and I was crying, and I was processing. But when my mom died, I took on that role. I took on that responsibility of the matriarch, and I took it on, and I said, I'm gonna be strong for everyone, and I'm gonna hold it together, and I'm gonna be responsible. And I finally had a mentor call me out about it and say, hey, Jen, like, that's what got your mom killed. You have to be okay to cry. You have to be willing to process and to slow down and, yeah, handle what needs to be handled, but live, you know, emotions are important. So we planned another funeral, and we had it the day before Easter. I didn't cry a single tear, and all I could think about was how glad I was that I knew where my parents were. And how glad I was that they lived a life that mattered. My parents said, how can I today impact someone? I mean, to their very last breath, they were investing in people. They were caring about people. And that's the legacy that they've put into me. And I'm not gonna lie, I had about a month where I was doing good to think about the next day. I was doing good to remember to eat. I was showing up at the gym, and that was pretty much the only thing I was consistently doing. And I had a realization, actually really good conversation with a mentor, and he said, this isn't how you honor your parents. You look to God and you say, God, I'm hurting and I'm broken and I need your help and I need you to hold me together. There's a time to think short term. But then there's a time to get up, and there's a time to say, God, let's walk through the valley of the shadow of death, not sit here and make a tent. And I'm not defined by the death of my parents, and I'm not defined by the struggle that's created for me. I'm defined by the destiny that God wrote for me before I was even a thought in my parents' mind. And I'm created for greatness. Every single human is created for greatness. And when we focus on our pain, we get more pain. When we start keeping track of all of our hurts, we find more things to be hurt about. I got guilty of that. But when I shifted my focus and I said, God, I'm going to work through that. I'm going to continue counseling, but I'm going to focus on living the life that you created for me. All of a sudden, I had the strength to go through another day. I'm focused on the people I can impact today. And that is what I'm called to do. I'm called to go out and invest in people and raise up people and say, you have a purpose. How can you bless someone else? And maybe it's just giving them a compliment. Maybe it's just looking outside yourself enough to pray for someone else or to encourage someone else. Whatever it is you need to do, find a way to invest in someone outside yourself, and you're going to find your problems get a lot smaller when you focus on someone else. Thank you for the time.